Standing next to a tree with red frozen sap on its bark would bring flashbacks of the many times we executed prisoners by tying them to trees and shooting them. Their blood stained the trees and never washed off, even during the rainy season. I hadn't told him that often I was reminded of what I missed by watching the daily activities of families, a child hugging his father, holding his mother's wrap, or holding two parents' hands swinging over gutters. It made me wish that I could go back to the beginning and change things. I had been told to meet a man by the name of Dr. Tamba at the American Embassy on Monday morning. As I walked to the embassy, I listened to the gradual awakening of the city. The call from prayer from the central mosque echoed throughout the city. Podas crowded the streets, their apprentices hanging on the open passenger doors and calling out the names of their destinations: Lumle, Lumle, or Congo Town. It was still too early when I arrived, but there was already a long line of people waiting outside the embassy gates. Their faces were sad and filled with uncertainty, as if they awaited some trial that would determine whether they would die or stay alive. I didn't know what to do, so I stood in line. After an hour or so, Dr. Tamba arrived with another boy and asked me to follow him. He looked like a dignified man, so I guess we didn't have to wait in line. The other boy, who was also a former child soldier, introduced himself. My name is Ba. I'm happy to be going on this journey with you, he said, shaking my hand. I thought about my uncle's reply would be to him. Don't let them get your hopes up, young man. We sat down on one of the few decent benches in a small open area in the embassy and waited for our interview. A white woman stood behind a transparent glass window. Her voice came through the speakers underneath it. What is the purpose of your visit to the United States? She asked, never looking up from the papers before her. When it was our turn, the woman behind the glass already had our passports. She didn't look at me. Rather, she flipped through the pages of my new passport. I was very confused about why the window was set up in such a way that the human connection was lost between the interviewer and the interviewee. Speak into the microphone, she said, and she continued. What is the purpose of your visit to the United States? For a conference, I said. What is the conference about? It is generally about issues affecting children around the world, I explained. And where is this conference? At the UN in New York City. Do you have a guarantee that you will come back to your home country? I was thinking when she continued, do you have any property, a bank account, that will guarantee your return? I frowned. Do you know anything about people's lives in this country? I thought of asking her. If she could only look at me directly, perhaps, she wouldn't have asked the last two questions. No one in my age in the country has a bank account, or even dreams of having one, much less property to declare. Mr. Tamba told her that he was the Cobb chaperone going on the trip with us, and he would make sure that we would return to Sierra Leone at the end of the conference. The woman asked me the final question. Do you know anyone in the United States? No, I've never been anywhere out of this country, and this is actually my first time in this city, I told her. She closed my passport and put it aside. Come back at 4:30. Outside, Dr. Tamba told us that we had gotten the visas and that he would pick up the passports and hold on to them until the day of our departure. It had finally begun to look as if we were going to travel, even though I had seen my passport only at a glance. I held my suitcase in my right hand and was wearing brown traditional summer pants with zigzag thread patterns on the bottom and a t-shirt. My uncle was sitting on the veranda when I came from Allie's room. I'm on my way to the airport, I said, smiling as if I knew my uncle was going to be sarcastic. Sure, give me a call when you get to America. Well, I don't have a phone, so call Aminata's house and she can come and get me. My uncle giggled. Okay, I will, I said, giggling as well. Ah, children, come and say goodbye to your brother. I do not know where he's going, but he needs our blessings, my uncle said. Matilda, Kona, and Sambo came to the veranda holding buckets in their hands. They were on their way to fetch water. They hugged me and wished me luck in my journey. My aunt came out of the kitchen, smelling of smoke, and hugged me. Wherever you are going, you will need to smell like home. This is my perfume to you. She giggled and stepped back. My uncle stood up and hugged me, put his arm around my shoulder, and said, My good wishes are with you, so I will see you later for dinner then. He went back to sit in his chair on the veranda.